This is the Solid Signal podcast for the week of February 26, 2018, and the subject for this week is Olympics wrap-up. If you look back at the archives at blog.solidsignal.com, search for the word Olympics in that search box, and you will find that in the past, I've been pretty critical of what NBC has brought to the table when it comes to Olympic coverage. Now that the Olympics are finally all over and we can get back to regular live TV, I have to admit, this year's coverage of the Olympics via NBC and DirecTV has really been quite acceptable. I really was surprised to find out that there was going to be this huge amount of 4K content available, and it all looked great. On top of which, you could really still look at the Olympics in the old school 20th century fashion using the curated content that only shows Americans. This kind of stuff aired on your local NBC station 3 times a day so that you didn't have to necessarily miss it. You could sit there and watch live. You could get everything that you wanted, or you could watch a feed that has only the performance and no commentary, which was very nice to have on during the day. You could watch on-demand content, a huge amount of it, on DirecTV through a dedicated NBC Sports and Olympics app that was available on most platforms, through the NBC app at NBC.com. The truth is that there was still way too much content, but that's not the fault of broadcasters. There's way too much that you couldn't see in time. You could watch for an entire year without seeing everything. Still, this was, I would say, the fairest and most reasonable Olympics coverage that I have ever seen. I often have complained in the past that Olympics coverage is far too focused on Americans and not focused enough on performances. That didn't actually end up being true this year. Even looking at some of the more mainstream kind of performances and coverage that we saw, like the figure skating, they were reasonably focused on other countries, not just when they were winning, too. I gotta say, kudos to NBC this year for finally turning it around and doing something good. I didn't see on the main coverage a lot of that, this is what we see in Pyongyang, this is the surrounding areas, but maybe it's just not that exciting of an area. All in all, I gotta say, although I have been incredibly critical in the past, I was not critical this year. And the streaming experience, by the way, didn't falter once. Back when I first started trying streaming back in 2014, I think, it was bad. I mean, you just got a lot of congestion when you tried to watch major events anywhere near real time. This time, no, plenty of bandwidth. Everything worked out great. I guess the moral of this whole story is I was right back in 2012 when I criticized NBC pretty severely for trying and failing to deliver excellent Olympics coverage. It took them some time to finally get everything back and running, but they did it, and they deserve a lot of credit. I hope that they win some technical Emmys for all of the hard work that they've done and for everything that they've put out, because I have to imagine it really was a huge effort, far more even than in previous years. It gives me hope for the future of the Olympics, and it gives me hope for NBC as a broadcaster in general. That's not something that I would have gambled on 6 years ago, but hey, here we are. And as we look forward to the Olympics in 2018, 2022, 2028, when it finally gets back to America, just imagine the kind of rich content that we could have by 2028. I mean, real-time augmented reality, full 8K video, everything right on your cell phone or connected contact lenses or who the heck knows, because the whole thing is just moving so quickly and it's impossible to know for sure where we're going to be. Which brings me to one last bit that I wanted to bring up this week, which is that 5G content is out there. The kind of rich content that we need to see on our cell phones, like 4K video, 8K video, huge data streams, it's already out there. It's waiting for us. And I'm very excited to see what's coming out of Mobile World Congress this week with regard to 5G hardware. There are a lot of tests that say that 5G is going to be blazingly fast, but it's impossible to know yet whether or not the phones will be able to keep up. That's the question for me. Anyway, that's about it for me for the Solid Signal podcast for this week. You all have a great one.